Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold's office was not going to tell county election clerks and the public that they had accidentally leaked voting machine passwords.
I'm going to bring you up to speed on a story that the lamestream media and the Democrats do not want to talk about. They want to avoid it like the plague. So it hasn't been getting airplay at all. And something else, we did a deep dive. And do you know something? To avoid reporting on any of the positive things that President Trump is doing, and there's a lot, the lamestream media keeps coming up with new hoaxes. And so we realize now a lot of these fake hoaxes that end up being debunked, this is intentional because it spins up the media and it takes up the airspace, which helps them avoid having to cover anything the president is doing because, dang it, they just didn't have enough time. So don't think that President Trump isn't reducing costs, because he is. Matter of fact, the CEO of Walmart came in and spoke right before Black Friday, which was just November the 28th, and said that cost had went down on their products something like 20%. That's Walmart. But the lamestream media will keep running reports like prices are high, prices are high. Think about it. If prices were going up like they say it is, why would they have to cover it? It would just be apparent, because it's not. They'll find one or two products and say, oh, there it is. And it's not. And just like Epstein, just like the whole Venezuela boats, this is intentional. Now, this story here is one of the ones. This is huge because this is about a woman out in Colorado who caught the Democrats red-handed cheating in the 2020 election, has it digitally, has it all. And they flipped it on her. The fact that she was able to save certain pieces of information obviously went against their protocol. They threw this woman in prison, even though she busted them cheating. The fact that she had to deviate from is a non-criminal. She didn't do anything criminal. Now, in this video, you're going to hear what happened. And it wasn't just in Colorado. It's in Arkansas. It's in multiple states. And it's all behind these machines. And we have to be up on this going into 2026 and 2028. Another critical thing is that if we don't listen to what happened to Tina, what if it's one of your family members next? What if you spot something going on nefarious and you want to report it and then they want to grab you up? You will want the same type of support. So I'm going to ask you to watch this video and check out what happened to this 70-year-old Gold Star mom. Has a son who lost his life in the battlefield of the United States military. Never been a criminal, was a very good standing woman. And wait to hear what President Trump just did recently. And what he did, the media is trying to accuse him of being an authoritarian, but he did what he was supposed to do, because guess what? It shined national light on this story. Now, I covered a little bit of it a couple of weeks ago, but in this video, I'm going to break it down for you. So you see this article says, Free Tina. Trump labels the Colorado governor a sleazebag for keeping elderly woman in prison. Peters was convicted of trying to stop Democrats from stealing Colorado votes in the election. Now, I want you to hear from Tina Peters herself a little bit, and then we're going to follow it up with what's happened since this, because it's jaw-dropping, and who's behind it. Check this out.
What Jenna did, though, that since at least June, those...
Okay, now who she's talking about is this woman who's a straight-up psychopath. If you've never seen her, she has TDS coming out of every orifice in her body. But this is the Jenna that she's speaking about in this video. I just wanted you to be aware of that, so you can put some face with it. She's the Colorado Secretary of State.
BIOS passwords, 670 of them from 63 counties out of the 64 counties in Colorado have been on the public website for the Secretary of State, which means they were out there for anybody to grab. She should be locked up, and they should throw away the key and let me loose.
Yeah, we need a prisoner swap.
Yeah, for sure.
So you think that this election in Colorado was definitely compromised because of the leaked passwords?
Oh, always. I mean, in Mesa County, they were finding fraudulent ballots. They were finding the same person was signing the ballot envelopes, and they brushed it off like it was nothing. And as a matter of fact, what Jenna Griswold did with the passwords, she knew while I was going through the trial that was out there and did nothing.
So those passwords were leaked out there during your trial before your sentencing?
They were out there since June, but she knew about it and didn't tell the clerks about it. And now she's apologizing to the clerks. She should apologize to the American people, or at least the people in Colorado. But there are other passwords besides just for Colorado, I've heard, for the United States in there for the Dominion machine.
So as you just heard her say, what happened was, a quick synopsis, somehow the passwords for 63 out of 64 counties ended up on the website under a tab that says something like special options or special whatever. And under that, the passwords for the machines were listed there. This woman caught it. She caught a whole lot of other things you're going to find out about, alerted them, even though Jenna Griswold, the Secretary of State, already knew, did nothing. And guess what? They found fraud out the yin yang in Colorado. Matter of fact, let me let you hear them. This Kyle he's interviewing Jenna Griswold herself. Listen to how he calls her out and what she has to say about it, because for this woman to be sitting in prison for exposing the illegalities of this election and the fact that passwords were exposed, how do you mistakenly put the passwords for Dominion voting machines in a special tab on the main website? Unless you want people to get it to be able to do things, then you come back and say, oh, sorry, hey, apologize, guys. While this woman is sitting in prison. And they got her in prison because she didn't follow the protocol that they felt like she should have followed, which is nuts and insane. Because if she would have followed the protocol, guess what? We wouldn't know what was going on. We wouldn't have any idea. But let me let you hear it directly out of the horse's mouth. If you enjoyed this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I will never ask you for a cash app, a super chat, or a donation. You hitting that like button, it helps the channel so much. It helps get the video out there. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And once you do, make sure that you hit the notifications and select all. That way, YouTube will make sure you get notified when I upload new videos.
Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold's office was not going to tell county election clerks and the public that they had accidentally leaked voting machine passwords. 9 News Investigates has obtained an audio recording where Griswold's chief deputy tells the clerks that they were not going to be told because it would cause a media frenzy. Griswold only notified the clerks and only changed the passwords after that security breach was revealed to the media and the public. That security breach came out 5 days after Griswold's office learned about it, when the Colorado Republican Party broke the news and asked for an investigation. The passwords had been inadvertently posted on her website in the hidden tab of a spreadsheet, sitting there for months. Clerks were upset to find out about it through the news. Griswold told me that day that she hadn't decided whether the public was ever going to be told. 9 News Investigates got a hold of an audio recording of Griswold's top deputy speaking to the clerks just minutes after I talked with Griswold that day.
Josh, I appreciate that you're expressing upset.
I'm not upset, Chris. I'm pissed off, and it's really hard not answering media questions the way I actually want to.
Okay, I will tell you, all I can do is be as transparent as I possibly can. We were not going to tell counties because we could not tell counties without it becoming the media storm it has become.
It's Chris.
No, it is not.
The clerk there saying it's bull is a Democratic clerk. In 2021, when Mesa County's voting system passwords leaked, your office said, quote, the public disclosure of the BIOS passwords for one or more components of Mesa County's voting system alone constitutes a serious breach of voting system security protocols. By that standard, did your office commit a serious breach of voting system security protocols?
No. There's several things. First off, the situation in Mesa County is very distinct to the situation that we are facing today. Because of that, Tina Peters was just convicted of 9 years of incarceration. We were actively investigating the password disclosure as part of a bigger security breach in Mesa County.
Pardon me. What your office said was that the public disclosure of the BIOS passwords alone constituted a serious breach of voting system security. So now that your office has leaked passwords, does that also constitute a serious breach of voting system security protocols?
Well, to push back on you, Kyle, that sentence is in the press release, but there is a much bigger press release. And part of that investigation in Mesa County was 2 sets of passwords, unauthorized access, stolen passwords, and it was in a different time. Since 2021 and what happened in Mesa County, our security has improved, including the 24/7 hour cameras, including the badge and access. The law has been significantly strengthened since then. We have multiple layers in place to ensure situations like Mesa County don't occur, and that is not what is occurring here.
Again, the word choice that it was the passwords alone that constituted the serious breach was, again, the words used by your office.
Now, if you notice what she said, she double spoke. She said, yeah, we got new layers of security breach, blah, 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 to make sure it never happens again. And what she means by that, they will never make it possible for somebody else to expose the fact that they were cheating. That's what that means. You have to take that for what it is. And I don't know about you. I've watched this lady speak, and the TDS and the crap she says. She is so anti-American. She is as far left as they can go. She is like Mom Donnie. She loves what Mom Donnie talks. She's one of those. Now, this woman, Tina Peters, is sitting in prison. Now, listen to what one of her attorneys has to say about the case, especially after you just heard the Secretary of State there, because it's bullcrap. 63 counties, voting machines, passwords were listed under spreadsheets on her website. Now, somebody will have to make that mistake 63 times and type in a whole lot. That's not a mistake. One password, maybe somebody screwed up. 63, no, they intentionally wanted it out there. So then people say, we don't know what happened. It was just a mistake. Luckily, it was caught before the 2024 election, even though Kamala Harris still won Colorado. But we don't know if that's legitimate, especially based on what you're about to hear, not from him, but in the next clip of what happened in Colorado. There's forensic evidence to back this up. It's not even speculation. And wait till you hear what President Trump has to say. But check this out. Urgent message for seniors brought to you on behalf of the sponsor of this video and partner of the channel, Chapter. Seniors, on January the 1st, Medicare plans are going up 10%. That's $215 out of your Social Security check. And certain doctors are no longer going to be in network, and certain prescriptions may no longer be covered. And it would suck to wait until you have an emergency or you need to get a prescription to find out that it's not covered or they're no longer in network. That's why you want to take time to give a call to Chapter. Even though open enrollment has passed, you can still contact Chapter and they can still help you make sure you got the best Medicare plan available. The phone call is free. It lasts as short as only 20 minutes. And one of their highly skilled, unbiased professionals will make sure that you got what you need. If what you have is the best and you're fully covered, great. But if not, they can help you. So don't take the risk. Use that number on the screen or visit the website at askchapter.org/realpolitics and let Chapter help you make sure you got the protection and coverage that you need.
Earlier this week, a federal judge ruled, listen to this, that Tina Peters, a 72-year-old Gold Star mother, must stay in prison while she appeals her case. And since that ruling, inside that prison, Tina Peters has been attacked. And I don't mean attacked just in one way, but in multiple ways, multiple times. The latest, just this week, a woman who never belonged there, now facing violence because she dared to tell the truth. I'm not just telling this story, I'm a part of this fight. I was asked to help Tina, and I said yes. And because of that, Peter Tickton came on. He's the lead counsel on this case. You know him well. He comes on our show regularly because he's in the fight, and I'm honored to be shoulder to shoulder with such a great man. The American Rights Alliance took this on with their legal team because this is a persecution and the American people know it. This is the blueprint. This is what it looks like in real time, folks. And it doesn't stop with Tina. We have to understand the same pattern, the same tactics, the same federal playbook shows up in Arkansas. Former state lawmaker John Woods was run through the ringer with every step of the blueprint, Arctic frost, etc. It's all here. You heard it in the news, but this is what Jack Smith's office, and this is what the individuals there, the judges, they destroyed it. It doesn't fit, but we want to lock in a sentence, call it a conviction, and say a jury of their peers. More than 40 missing records, a laptop the FBI wiped after a court order to turn over the evidence. The facts the jury never heard, in an 18-year sentence that should have never stood. This isn't coincidence. This is a system. This is the blueprint at work.
So this man out of Arkansas got 18 years. Tina Peters got 9 because they exposed the fraud going on within the elections. That is insane. And there's groups. This isn't something that people are relying on just the federal government to fix. You got the J6 Alliance, the Article 3 group, and there's a couple other ones. They are all fighting very hard to get Tina Peters out. And you'll hear why when the president speaks. But check out this evidence that she found and why this is so critical, why we have to be up on our game, especially when it comes to voting. We have to get other people out to the polls. We cannot rely on these machines. And we know certain states use them, but we have to make sure if you live in Colorado, California, New York, and if you notice, it's the blue states that love these machines. Why? Because they're easy to wipe clean. I did a video recently where the creator of the Smartmatic machine, he was being held on trial in the Philippines and admitted to the Philippine government that the tampering, the machines can be tampered with after hours, wiped to a point that nobody would be able to know or even tell that somebody was in the system, after guaranteeing countries that if somebody tampered with it, there'd be a fingerprint, there'd be a footprint, you'd be able to know, had to admit while he's there being held on bribery charges, facing prison in the Philippines, because their election wasn't secure.
So what you're saying, what you're telling us is that the server is the one that dictates whether it will accept the message or not, irrespective of the time being used by the sender.
The server is not looking at the time, but rather the digital signatures and the contents of the package being generated by the PICO. So if the
But if that's the case, Mr. Chairman, what's the use of having a time as far as the PICO sender is concerned? What's the purpose of the time if that is immaterial?
the time gives you the sequence of the actions, and when you actually
but this, if I may interrupt, as Congressman Gola says, if this sequence can be delayed to 10 in the evening, what the heck? My God.
Sir,
your assurance was that anything that happens between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. would be reflected as 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I didn't know that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. could be moved to 10 in the evening. Do you realize what a fool you have made,
sir,
of the legislators who passed this law?
I understand, sir. With all due respect, it's an unforeseen situation. It's one
Unforeseen?
Yes, sir.
That was the principal guarantee that this would be an honest election. That we would know digitally what would happen during election day and during the election hours.
And you do, sir, if I may.
No, don't forget that. The sons of bitches, you heard us standing here guaranteeing to the public and the world that even if fraud is committed, we would be able to trace it. We never said that fraud could not be committed. But you said we could trace it. And now you tell me that at 10 in the evening you could do it and we would never know.
No, sir. I stand by our product, and we can trace everything that we do.
And what type of machines did we use here? Dominion and some Smartmatic. And the founder of LinkedIn actually used $24 million on behalf of Smartmatic to sue anybody who spoke out against them. That's why you saw lawsuits against Fox News and one other outlet. It's crazy, but check this out.
The image is a perfect copy.
Yeah,
so it's a clone of the system.
It's a hard drive.
Forensic copy, bit for bit, of everything that was on the Mesa County computer.
I had some people who knew my capabilities that said, you really ought to look at this.
She's the clerk. So the system's operation for an election, it was her duty to preserve those election records.
And then when they compared the two images, they discovered that election records had been deleted or altered. 29,000 of them that are the fingerprints, the DNA, the blood type of how they got to the totals of the 2020 and the 2021 election.
Just to clarify, there were 2 forensic images taken of the Mesa County election server. One before the software update, another image taken after. Then you were able to compare the 2.
Everything that had been on that drive before this update was gone.
It looks like a cover-up. Low risk of being caught, low consequence if they are caught. I mean, there's a layered defense against transparency for the public.
The reason we know it was deliberate is because of Tina Peters.
Are those files important to elections?
Critical.
So as you heard, these 2 forensic analysts state the drives were match for match, bit for bit, and they're using AI technology to make sure of that. But after there was an update to the hard drive on the computer at the facility or to their system, after an update, everything that was there prior to that update was wiped clean. Tina Peters still had a hard drive that kept everything that was there before the update. So it was hardcore evidential proof. But guess what? They locked her up for having that evidence on the drive. They considered that tampering with elections. That's insane. 9 counts. She got convicted of 7 out of 10 counts. 9 years in prison. She was 70 when she went in, 72 right now. Gold Star mom. No criminal record. Upstanding citizen. Just so happens to be a Republican in a state like Colorado. Now, let's listen to what Carrie Lake has to say about Tina. This is a big deal. Whether you know it or not, you might not have heard about it, but this is a big deal. We're very powerful people are out fighting on behalf of this lady right now. This isn't one of those, oh, it's just going to happen, let it go. No, they're fighting to get her out of prison. Wait till you hear what the president did. That clip is coming up next. But listen to Carrie Lake.
Let me tell you, Tina Peters is a really good woman. I know her personally. I consider her a friend. Her son died in the line of duty, active duty, Navy SEAL, I believe he was. And to throw her behind bars, the same corrupt people in Colorado who were behind the election malfeasance. And when she was trying to say, we're going to collect the evidence and make sure that we are responsible to the voters and the taxpayers, they throw her in jail for that, in prison for that. She's a woman who's got health problems, and I'm afraid if we don't get her out, that she'll die behind bars. This is an unfair sentence. It's ridiculous. Same thing. They threw the book at her for ridiculous non-crime. The same thing they did with the J6ers. And, come full circle. One of the judges who handled so many of the J6 cases, you might remember him. He was the judge who fell asleep during their trials. And then when he woke up, threw the book at these J6ers who didn't do anything wrong except protest, peacefully. And so I have that same judge over all the cases that have been launched against our agency. When they get somebody in an agency and we are starting to clean things up, that's when the deep state starts throwing out malicious lawsuits. We've got 5 or 6 malicious lawsuits. They want to tie us up in court. They want to do this with all the other agencies as well. Anywhere where they're bringing reform, they want to get them tied up, tangled up in court with judges who, like mine, actually threw the book at these J6ers for simply protesting at the Capitol.
And so you have to realize that too. The Biden administration got 235 federal judges placed. And what the deep state does, they go judge shopping till they find a judge that's going to stand behind what they want to do. And then they try to bring up a case with that judge in that jurisdiction where it's more favorable to them. Now, we do have conservative judges too, so I won't act like there's not. Going to be fair on that accord. But being a Republican in a state like Colorado, which we know is bluer than blue as can be, corrupt also, that loves illegal immigrants, and Trinidad Agua literally took over parts of the state that were sent from Venezuela. I'm going to say allegedly, but it was already leaked by the spy chief that we have here in prison, that Venezuela intentionally rounded up Trinidad Agua out of prison, in prisons, sent them here to attack Venezuelans living in exile and to be a disruption within the American system. That's why the FBI went hard at them and got them out of here. And a lot of them are sitting in CCOT out there in El Salvador right now. But let's listen to what the president had to say about this whole ordeal, and what he did for Mrs. Peters, because this is why he's my president. He's your president. And this is why you cannot allow the left, the lamestream media, to wear you down with these made up negative stories that they overhype. You got to know that they overhype it. They run it nonstop because a weak-minded person gets influenced by that. Even though we all know, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see, especially when you're watching those lamestream propaganda networks. But check out what our president did.
Colorado, the poorly run state of Colorado, with a governor who's incompetent, and frankly, with a governor that won't allow our wonderful Tina to come out of a jail, in a high-intensity jail, because she caught people cheating on an election, and they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She went over, she looked at one of the election scams going on. And because she did that, they put her in jail for 9 years. The governor of Colorado is a weak and pathetic man who was run by Trinidad Agua, the criminals from Venezuela, took over sections of Colorado, and he was afraid to do anything. But he puts Tina in jail for 9 years because she caught people cheating. And when she walked over and got involved in it, they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She caught people cheating on the election, 2020, along with a lot of other people that cheated on that election. You'll see that coming out more and more. But there's no doubt that America.
The president pardoned. I thought it might be in this clip, but the president issued a full pardon for Tina Peters. Full. Now, I want you to check out what's happening, though, since he issued that full pardon just a couple of days ago. Check out just how the left is pushing back. This shows how despicable these people are. Check this out.
And I want to turn to something we're going to break right here, right now. I just got this before I came on air. The team will put it on air right now. Remember Tina Peters? She was the election clerk in Colorado that was sent to prison and convicted for her efforts to raise questions about election issues during the 2020 election in that state. Well, today, Just the News obtained this letter showing that the Deputy Attorney General in the federal government is working, Todd Blanche, is asked the Bureau of Prisons to find any way they can legally to move Tina Peters out of Colorado State Prison and into federal prison. Now, that could signal several things. One, they're worried about her safety. Two, that she might become a witness in some future federal investigation. Therefore, having her in federal custody would be a part. We don't know the reason for this request, but we have confirmed that this request has occurred. Breaking news, the story is going to be up on justthenews.com. You got it first because you watch us here at Real America's Voice. And I want to turn.
So the president gave her a pardon. The Democrats resisted, said, nope. The judge said, nope, we're not going to let her out while it's being appealed. Wants to hold this woman in prison. Now, like President Trump said, and I said earlier, you had Trinidad Agua there. People with lives were taken. People were battered. People were robbed. And folks were arrested. They were released. None of them went to prison. None of the gang members, allegedly, none of that. They don't even want to deport the criminals. But you will take a mother, a Gold Star mother, whose Navy SEAL son lost his life fighting for this country. She didn't violate any laws, but she did something they didn't like, which was grabbed evidence to expose them. And since she took that information, they leveraged that little bit. It's like I always say with Democrats, they take a little bit of truth and pile on a whole bunch of bull crap with it. And they made up a case against this lady. And she didn't stand a chance in a Democrat blue state against a Democrat blue jury. You already know. And they pitched it like she was helping Trump fulfill his election denial or his election lie. Matter of fact, that lady, Jenna Griswold, is so grimy. She even did a post trolling the lady, talking about how she's still sitting in prison and yada, yada. These folks are despicable. That's why you cannot give the Democrats, you can never bend to them and say, you know what? I apologize. Because they're the type that when you say that, they'll say, you should, you were wrong. And you'll be like, well, are you going to apologize? No, I didn't do anything. You're thinking you're being civil by apologizing, saying, you know what? Maybe if I do that, they'll realize the error in their ways too. They don't. They see it as a sign of weakness. So when everybody gets mad at Trump, no matter what the tragedy is, the reason why he's standing firm is because he knows you cannot show any sign of weakness to these people. They tried to take his life. They tried to take his business. They tried to destroy his whole empire and still trying it. But he's the president now. So he wields a lot of power. And if you notice, all those protests and uprisings not happening as frequently since USAID shut down. You know, a lot of this pushback, not wanting to turn over voter rolls. Why not? You know, all the blue states, most of the blue states have refused to turn over their voter rolls. Come on, we're not going to do this. It's to protect illegal immigrants, which is what they're using. We don't want to do that. Talking about the citizens' privacy. And they think that the government will be at the election polls looking for illegal immigrants. And if they are, what's wrong with that? It should scare off anybody that's here illegal from wanting to try to vote. But the Democrats pitched that as racist. No, this woman was wrongfully convicted. The president issued a full pardon. But the Colorado, they're saying states' rights. And legally, they have a right with the states' rights. But what they don't realize is President Trump issuing that pardon, he knew that the state didn't have to let her out. But he knew if he issued the pardon, that was a big enough rallying cry that would awaken national attention, and it has. And like I stated earlier, there are organizations, there are legal teams, there are millions of dollars pouring in to get this woman out right now. So I'll keep you updated. But this is just an example. And I need to do a story on Mr. Woods out there in Arkansas, who got railroaded to 18 years for exposing the Democrats trying to cheat. Anytime you've ever felt like maybe we should have some sympathy for the Democrats, take that up out you. You still a God-loving, God-fearing person if you just realize that it's hard for an angel to stay an angel in a room full of devils. It's hard to be a fair player in a room full of cheaters, because no matter how fair you are, their intention is to cheat you. Their intention is to mislead you. So if you're the only one doing straight, but everybody else is doing wrong, that don't necessarily mean you do wrong. But at the same time, if you're going to play in that game, you got to make sure you protect yourself, protect your interests. And that's what President Trump is doing. We have got to get these people out of office, man. And I know people will be putting in the comments, Brian, you got to calm down. It just really rattles the cage when I just hear these people speak like Griswold, while this 72-year-old woman sitting in prison. That woman's the same age as my mother. So I just wanted to bring you this story to let you know the American rally cry is on. The pardon has been issued. Her appeal is going on. The state is refusing to let her out. But you've got organizations, groups, the national media is in on this thing. So we're going to see how this plays out. But I wanted to bring you this story. And if you stayed in, you watched it up to this point, I want to say a thank you from the top and bottom of my heart. If you haven't hit that like button already, hit the like button. And if you aren't subscribed already, subscribe. Most importantly, I want you to stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.